Hey boys, today I'm trying to figure out how this guy isn't from Smash Brothers. Yeah, this guy. From Smash Bros. Yeah, him. He's weird, huh? And weirdly enough, he saved video games, which means he has more value than I do. You see, back in the 80s, gaming wasn't doing so well. In fact, in 1983, there was a whole video game crash, which is often blamed on the game E.T. Before Nintendo entered the home console market in America, Atari ran the scene in the early 80s, pumping out incredibly beautiful and impactful games like Breakout. And of course, don't forget Klax. How could you forget Klax? But in 1982, Atari was hyping up the best game ever. The game to destroy all games. A licensed movie game not by THQ. E.T. And this holiday, you can play this masterpiece. I mean, it's based on a great movie. What could go wrong? Well, the truth is, it did actually sell well. Not to Warner Brothers, though. Main problem was, they made way too many copies, and a lot of the games were returned. I guess I thought E.T. would live up to the hype. There were so many extra copies that they buried them. I can bury bad games too. Of course, it wasn't just E.T. alone that caused the crash. During this time, video games were a fresh concept, and was viewed as bad for kids by many parents. How could you say that? Of course, Nintendo, seeing it fit, felt like they needed to bring the Famicom over to America in the form of the NES during this market crash. The thing is, they had a trick up their sleeves. Always have them just in case. Nintendo knew that parents don't want to buy video games, but they do want to buy toys. So they bundled a toy with their NES, but it was actually an accessory with the Famicom first, just recolored for the NES. In Japan, it was released on July 26, 1983, along with other trinkets for the system, and released October 18, 1985 here in America for the NES. It was designed by Gunpei Yokoi, a veteran for Nintendo. I don't know if I'm butchering that name or not. People were excited to get their hands on this thing. Let me explain it. R.O.B, or Robotic Operating Buddy, was an interactive robot accessory for the NES that would work with select games. Many thought it was just plain awesome, especially for the time, but one problem. It was ridiculously slow. This guy saved the game market when it was released, mainly because consumers viewed the NES as a toy and not a game system. What also helped stop the video game crash along with R.O.B was the Zapper, which included the game Duck Hunt, and there was the game Gyromite for R.O.B. Oh crap, that's right, the games! So what did Nintendo make along with their revolutionary robot technology to show its value? How many games showed R.O.B's incredible power? 2. Gyromite and Stack Up. Gyromite came with 2 gyros, basically Beyblades, 2 claws for the little cutie R.O.B, 2 blue and red trays for the Beyblades to exist, which activated buttons on a second controller, a motor to spin the gyros, and lastly a tray to store the gyros. Who knew you needed all of this to play Gyromite? The game is a puzzle platformer starring Professor Hector, and it is unlucky for Hector here. He needs to get all the dynamite before time runs out. And even more unlucky for him, pillars and dinosaurs block his way. Classic Gyromite. R.O.B comes in handy when those pesky pillars get in his way. Simply press select, then press the A and B button to open and close his arms. Place a gyro on the correct color tray to select a button on the second controller as to make way for Hector. But if you need to press both buttons, R.O.B will need to put the gyros on the motor spinner and keep it balanced without holding it. It cannot get any more simple than that. Now Stack Up, everybody knows about Stack Up. Stack Up came with 5 trays, 5 colored blocks, and 2 claws for R.O.B. I know, crazy. Our legends, Professor Hector, returns in this one, through the few game modes. Direct mode has the player make the block stack match the one on screen. In memory, you are tasked with making an order of commands to remake how, guess what, it is shown on screen. Bingo now, death is on the line. You gotta make the shown block stack, and luckily for colorblind people, color doesn't matter. But in this one, enemies can make you lose a life or make R.O.B do something you don't want him to. Oh, the humanity! Overall, even though R.O.B solved the video game crash, he would slowly become irrelevant as games like Mario, Zelda, and Metroid were proving games had a place in the world. People didn't need a toy to get them interested in gaming, at least for a while. He did impact culture though, and is referenced to a lot, most famously in Smash Bros. There is also a play on him in The Muppets. I swear, that's based on R.O.B. Also, Wally has to be a robotic operating buddy, or my life is a straight up lie.